Hello everyone, it's me again with some good news and good moves. It's Magnus Carlsen versus Daniil Dubov, and they are in the tie breaks. They will play two blitz games, and then if we don't have a winner after those two blitz games have been played, then we go into Armageddon. So first game already a crazy one. Let's check it out. This is even faster. This is 5+3. So let's see what happened. Magnus with the white pieces opens with e4. Sorry about that. And they repeat a line from the rapid part of the match. We have e5, knight f3, knight to c6, and bishop to c4. Dubov goes for the two knights defense like he already did. d3 and h6 now. We have knight to c3 and then bishop to b4. So we've already seen this. We have castles and now captures on c3. B captures and castles by Dubov, and this bishop to b3 move by Magnus. However, in that game, you remember Dubov played first d6 and then he wasted a tempo by playing d5, but here he goes d5 right away. So even though bishop to b3 is a new move in the position, it's actually, as we already know, they played this, d5 is a new move in the position. So already as of move 8, a completely new game. We have e captures on d5, knight captures, and now h3. Already an imprecision by Magnus. Rook to e1 is what one should play here, but then you kind of allow bishop to g4, and none of it really looks appealing. So here h3 was played by Magnus. But now comes knight captures on c3. Magnus, of course, gives up this pawn to go for queen to e1, now with the double attack on the knight and on the pawn. And now comes knight to d4 by Dubov. A very, very tricky idea. Of course, the knight cannot be captured. If you capture the knight, knight to e2 check with a nice royal fork. So instead of that, Magnus goes after the e5 pawn, knight captures on e5, and now he says, what are you planning to do here? Well, Dubov goes for rook c captures, rook c to e2 with check. And what do you play here? Magnus goes king to h1, but king to h1 is already a mistake. Incredible, but I mean, this is such a crazy line in this opening that every move seems to be a mistake. So king to h2 is what you have to play here, and you'll very soon see why. Magnus played king to h1, and now feel free to pause the video and try to find a very crushing idea for Dubov while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on spotting yet another bishop captures on h3. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it is in fact that. So bishop captures on h3. This was played by Dubov. And now if you don't capture it, it's just a free pawn, so you kind of have to do it. G captures was played, and now comes knight captures on b3. Grabbing that bishop here. Of course, you cannot capture the bishop because then queen to d5 check just wins. You're going to pick up this knight. So after knight captures on b3, queen captures on e2 by Magnus, now guarding the knight, and still queen to d5 with check. We have king to h2, and now Dubov goes for knight captures on a1. If Dubov wanted, he could have gone for this very tricky knight to d4 and force an endgame. Attack the queen, and wherever the queen goes doesn't really matter. You can even offer a trade. Just queen captures on e5 with check. Temporary queen sacrifice, and then another royal fork. Captures, king moves, and then you recapture the queen. And you play this endgame, bishop against knight, where Dubov would be up a pawn. And he would have a slightly better pawn structure. But he doesn't want to try this in a blitz game against Magnus, so he goes for material. Knight captures on a1. Bishop to b2 by Magnus is going to be a bit dangerous now, as Magnus will get a nice attack going. And now rook a to e8. This was also a very good opportunity to go for something like f6 to numb down that a light square bishop, but it's an ugly move to play. So Dubov instead goes for rook a to e8, and now comes rook to g1. So already you can see that a lot of fun will happen here on this square. So Magnus now prevents it. And now queen to g4. That's why it was better to play it then, because now it doesn't really do anything. Yes, the knight cannot move, but queen g4 comes with tempo, with the threat of checkmate. So g5 by Dubov, the absolute strongest move in the position, even though it looks ugly. And now queen to f5. Magnus is trying to wiggle his way in with the queen. And here we have rook to e7. Dubov tries to create some sort of a barrier here so the queen cannot deliver any perpetuals or checkmating threats. But when in fact the rook captures on e5 was the way to go. You have to trade everything here on e5. and then it's just a nice draw. Rather, white cannot even capture and allow the trade because black is up material, so white would have to go for a nice perpetual here, and we would get a draw. But after queen f5, Dubov, probably thinking that he was still on the attack, went for rook to e7, and now he gives Magnus a very sneaky idea, knight to g6. Now both of the rooks are under attack, and it also seems like Magnus overlooked his queen, but in fact, if queen captures, knight captures with check. Now Magnus with a royal fork, king f7, knight captures on f5. And now white is just completely winning as white is up a piece. So here after knight g6, Dubov tries queen to d6 check, but now rook to g3 blocking. We have knight captures on c2 by Dubov, and now knight captures on f8. Magnus grabs the material here, and now knight to d4 is a move that Dubov played, which is just not all that great, but it's very tricky to find a move here, and both of them were below a minute. So here you have to go for knight to e3. It looks ugly, but it's the only way for black to continue the game. The rook cannot move, so you can only capture with the pawn, but capturing with the pawn isn't all that great. So here white would have to struggle to find some sort of a useful move, probably queen to c8 to threaten some discoveries. Point is, if the knight is captured, then rook captures with now a double attack on the rook. Queen g6 check, king captures, and now queen captures. You have to trade everything off. Queen captures, bishop captures, and you get this endgame where black has to avoid the trade. He's down a piece, but maybe he can fight as being up 2 pawns, but it's very unlikely. However, here after knight captures on f8, Dubov played knight to d4 instead, and now comes bishop captures on d4, queen captures, and knight to e6 now, not allowing the rook to go down, and the queen is covering the f2 pawn, so that's not a problem. So here we have queen to e5 offering a queen trade, but now Magnus goes in for the kill. Queen to g6 check, king to h8, we have queen captures on h8, king to g8. If you block with the rook, then of course queen to f8 is checkmate. So here after queen to h6, king to g8 was played, but now queen to f8 check was played, and it was in this position on move 28 that Daniil Dubov resigned the game, and the first game of the tiebreaks goes to Magnus. So we'll see what happens. Will Magnus eliminate Dubov, or will Dubov once again eliminate Magnus from the competition? So yeah, here we resigned because after the king moves, you just capture the rook, and then it's going to be a very quick checkmate, so not much to hope for here. So yeah, after queen to f8 check, Dubov resigned, and now Dubov has only one more game to get back into the match to force Armageddon. Otherwise, it's Magnus to the semifinals, and it's, we're going to continue the song some other time for Daniil Dubov. So yeah, that's it for the game. Thank you all for watching. I would like to thank Narashiman Ragavan, Tito Reynaldo, Justin Pollard, David Kimber, and Jakub Ragozino for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing the coverage of this very nice tournament, checking up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. So thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.